My husband acted like he didn't care that I was in the hospital internally bleeding and only stayed with me for 20 minutes each day, and even when I got home he didn't care to help me out, and now I feel like an outcast to him. I'm really not happy with how things went down last weekend, so I thought I'd scream into the void and see if the void screams back. I don't have any friends I could talk to about this. I, 43F, had severe abdominal pain in the lower right side of my abdomen on a Saturday night, so bad that I thought about going to the ER, but I'm slightly phobic about hospitals and ER visits are expensive, so I didn't. It ended up feeling somewhat better by the next morning, so I put it out of my mind and was just careful, thinking I had pulled a muscle or something. 2 days later I found massive purple bruises on my stomach, very near where the random pain had been / still was, which of course freaked me TF out. I first went to my OB/GYN in case my IUD had slipped and perforated something, but my IUD was fine, and no ovarian cyst / rupturing going on. She sent me to my primary care. After tons of poking and prodding, painfully I might add, she sent me directly to the ER, even going so far as to call the head nurse in the ER to tell them I was coming and what my symptoms were. Her thought was that it was appendicitis, even though I had no nausea or other symptoms of that. Long story short, after scans, labs and testing was done, I have a hematoma of the rectal sheath and the bruises were caused by it bleeding internally. I went to the ER about 11:30 noon on Friday and spent the next 10-ish hours there before a room opened up for me and I was admitted. They weren't sure if I was going to need surgery to correct it, and no one had any idea what caused this, so the concern of more / other internal bleeding was big. My husband was at work at the time. My husband picked up my 7-year-old from school at 3 p.m. and went home. His mom is retired, alone, husband passed April 2024, and loves to spend time with the kids. I also have a kid, but he didn't ask her to pick up our son or watch him so my husband could sit with me. He waited until 7:30 p.m. to bring me food in the ER. I hadn't eaten all day cause I was fasting to do blood work at my primary care appointment, stayed with me for about 30 minutes, and went home again. At that point I still wasn't sure if I needed surgery, so I couldn't eat or drink anything after midnight. The next day I didn't see him until after my food / drink intake was permitted again, so about 11:30 a.m. or so my hospital lunch was delivered about 20 minutes after he arrived, and he left after my doctor gave his update. He missed the oncologist and hematologist though. I had to deal with that terrifying prospect alone. My mom died of leukemia when I was 15. He wasn't very happy with the doctor, which I totally get. The doc was really off-putting and borderline unprofessional, asking if my husband hit me to both of us, in the same room, after being asked this exact question at least 20 times, by several different hospital staff prior to this. I was even asked if there was anyone I wanted to restrict from the hospital and said no, but he kept harping on it and was visibly angry, but he insisted he wasn't mad at me. I get that it was offensive, but I didn't understand why that took precedence over what was going on with my health and mental well-being. This was my first time being a patient in a hospital, besides when my 2 kids were born, and my prior experience with hospitals was anything but pleasant. Between my mom's cancer and daughter's medical issues from birth until age 12, I spent way too much time there already. He kept bringing the doctor's comment up, then complained that the chaplain came by after me saying I didn't want the chaplain. I'm pagan freaked him out a bit when he came by, but that's another story, then got mad about the amount the hospital was charging the insurance company. Not what they were charging us, what they charged the insurance. I felt like the whole time I was in there, all he did was act upset and angry, and, though he kept saying he wasn't mad at me, I felt like it was all about him and his feelings. I finally got to drive myself home from the hospital about 3:30 p.m. on Monday, so it was almost 4 days in the hospital. My husband came 3 of the 4 days and stayed about 20-30 minutes each day. He's off weekends BTW, and missed every doctor except that one. When I got home, I got a shower to wash off the stink of disinfectant, and then it was straight back to normal, as though I had never been gone. My son gave me a hug, and then ran off fine. He's 7. My husband played video games until dinner, then ate and helped with some of the dishes. No, let me do that. You're not supposed to be exerting yourself, or sit down and I'll take care of dinner. You just got out of the hospital, nothing. I'm worried about my future. Is this a picture of what my life may be like in the future? Cancer is rampant in both sides of my family, all kinds, so I guess that means I'll be doing chemo alone, and probably going to die alone in a hospital bed at some point. I'm trying to move forward, but I also feel some resentment towards him, whatever happened to in sickness and in health. I can't help but feel let down by him. I was all alone in a scary place, not knowing what was wrong or what was going to happen to me, and he couldn't be bothered to come sit with me, keep me company, help stop my freakouts or support me. Not once did he tell me, "It's okay, you'll be okay, we'll get through this." Instead it seemed like it was all about his frustrations and feelings. So now I'm conflicted. Maybe I was being selfish. It's not like he could actually do anything to help me there, and he was with our son. But where do you draw the line between selfishness and need for help? Am I a jerk for wanting my husband to be more supportive during my time in the hospital? Update. So I finally talked to my husband about my hospital stay and it didn't go well. Admittedly, I didn't pick the best time to talk and said things in anger. I wouldn't take back anything I said and I wasn't mean or cruel in how I delivered it, but I wish I had picked a better time so that he was in a better mindset to receive the info. We were talking about an upcoming medical appointment for my daughter, and I said that we'd be leaving at X time the next day. His response: "You're taking her? Don't you have to work?" Yes. Yes, I do, so I'm going to have to call in absent because she is getting meds that won't allow her to drive home, and this is a traumatic experience, so she needs support. We already asked her bestie and her grandma, both have uncancelable things going on. Him: "Well, I can take her." Me: "Really? It could take all day, you're cool with that?" Him, ranting for a while about how she can just get dropped off, she's an adult and it's her problem. Me: "And I'm totally admitting this was not the best way to bring to these topics, yes, because not only will she need a ride home, but she needs the support. Like I needed support in the hospital. But you weren't there. I had to do it alone?" Him: "What was I supposed to do? Just sit there?" Me: "No, you could have reassured me, you could have held my hand so I wasn't freaking out so much, or just talked to me so my thoughts didn't spiral. What if I had bled out and they needed consent to operate? You weren't there to give IT. Instead, you were there 20-30 minutes at most and pissed every visit. Some people need emotional support." Him, scoffs. Me: "Well, at least I know what to expect for the future. I'll be going alone, sitting in my hospital bed/nursing home, alone and dying alone. 'Cause being there for me or anyone inconveniences you." Him: "A bunch of childish BS, okay S and whatever S." Then proceeds to act like nothing happened and immediately fall asleep, even though I have visibly red/puffy eyes from crying. Unfortunately, divorce isn't really an option for me financially or logistically. I can't uproot my kids. Yes, my daughter is 23, but with her current job and housing costs in my area, there's no way she can afford her own place, and my son has great connections in our neighborhood. My only viable plan to go to would be to move to the other side of the country because that's where my only support is. I'd have to quit my job, pull my kid out of school and move, if courts would even allow it. So until my son reaches an appropriate age, I'm staying with the expectation that I don't have a husband, I have a roommate with occasional benefits. I'm changing my will and my POA to my sister, but that's the most I can do at this time. For additional clarity, my mom passed when I was 16, and dad passed last January, though we weren't close at the time. For my biological family, I talked to one sister and my paternal aunt. Otherwise, I'm an orphan. I'm fairly close with my mill, enough to the point where she commiserates with me about my husband's behavior. He's a lot like his dad, who she divorced years ago. I've got an appointment with a hematologist/oncologist coming up, but it'll be a while. The worst of my bruises are finally fading, and the rest are gone completely. I'm feeling better every day, but if I move too fast and or clench my abdominal muscles, I get a nasty pinch. I keep forgetting to take it easy with lifting and bending, but it's not bad, mild enough that an ice pack and a couple ibuprofen take care of the worst of it. Luckily, my job has been amazing in letting me work from home even on in-office days. They really have been super caring and supportive. You all really helped me to see past my husband's callous reaction and that it wasn't an unreasonable request to ask him to stay with me. It's been an eye-opening experience, and honestly, I'm really sad that after all these years, I can't count on my partner.